I'm going to call, let's see, roll call is Fran Newton,
Present.
Kathleen DeWolf,
Here.
Alan Silly,
Present.
Eli Badger is here. First thing on the docket is a public hearing for sale of town land. Charlie, do we know whether Mr. Randall is joining us tonight?
Mr. Randall is on the line.
Here he is.
Mr. Randall,
Hello? Yes.
are you 9740?
Yeah, I am 9740.
Okay. Let's see if I can get you. Okay. Apparently there is a minor controversy about this, and we would like you to help us through it.
Sure. I mean, I did get the email about the email that Dave Rule sent
Yep.
to Charlie. And I don't know if that's the hurdle that you're talking about. And I
Well,
really don't think it's a hurdle.
that's an
but,
issue. Yes.
Okay. So let me just, what I think to do to start is I can just tell you that the chain of title is very clear about when the land was sold and how it gets to the town.
Yep.
I can tell you that in 1922, Continental Bag and Paper Company conveyed that property to Benjamin Dean. Benjamin Dean passed away, and his estate, which was the administrator was Philip Gammons, he conveyed 2 tracts of land to George Campbell. One which consisted as part of the Tom Peters property, and the other tract in that deed in 1932 was the description from Continental Paper and Bag to Benjamin Dean. Okay, and then that's how it gets into George Campbell's estate, because George Campbell bought up a bunch of land in there and then re-subdivided it. In 1952, Mr. Campbell had Surveyor Trajano come down and do a subdivision plan, okay, which created the current property as we know as 14 Winter Street. And on Mr. Trajano's plan, he shows in that area that my client's trying to purchase from the town as other land of George Campbell. Now, I also chased the tax sale records at the Grafton County Registry of Deeds, which I think I provided everybody with. That shows that the town, you know, did the tax thing, did the tax deed, and then there was an actual tax sale to the town of Ashland. And then what I did is, if you look at the information that I provided, I actually grantored the town of Ashland looking for the sale of that property to anybody. And it was never, ever deeded to anybody.
I don't see you there. Oh,
Okay, so there is a very clear chain of title to this piece of property. I can tell you that it is not owned by the paper company. I can tell you that I have looked at the paper company's plans that have been prepared and all this other stuff, and I'm going to tell you that their plans are in error in a number of different places, because it's people tracing stuff, not really doing any deed research to figure out what's actually going on. So there's going to be no issue for the town, because the town's not going to convey by warranty deed. They're going to do a quit claim deed, and then it'll get transferred to my client. What we will end up doing is recording the plan that I prepared at the registry once we get through the deeding process of the town, if we can even get through the deeding process of the town. But I'm here to tell you that I'm 100% confident in my ability to do research at the Grafton County Registry of Deeds. I will tell you that, could there be a possibility of an unrecorded deed somewhere? Yeah, there could be, but with the chain of title that I've searched, it's very unlikely that that's the case. So it's what I do for a living. I'm very confident with the outcome of what went on there, and the town really has no liability. If it would become an issue at a later date, it would have nothing to do with the town.
Yeah.
Because the town's just quit claiming whatever interest that they have through the tax sale thing. Where the town doesn't want to do is convey a warranty deed to the property. Because towns never convey tax
Never do
sales
that.
by warranty deed. They always
Yes.
do quit claim deeds.
We've
So
been
I'm
there
very
before.
confident in the research that I did. And for the indexes to be messed up at the Grafton County Registry of Deeds would be a very rare thing. So, and it was never ever documented properly on the tax maps when the tax maps were first done, because it was prior to tax maps. So
Mhm.
that's what I can tell you about the deed research and what I did as a licensed professional. And I'll just tell you, I feel 100% confident that the town owns that piece of property.
I want to thank you for that, Tony. I didn't think you would be putting your job in jeopardy for this piece of land.
Exactly. You know, there's nothing to be gained by it if it wasn't true. You know, the surveyors are not in the business of misrepresenting stuff.
I didn't
You know, I let the
believe so.
deeds and everything take me to come to the conclusion of this is how it is. I have the paperwork to back it up, and I provided the town with that stuff. So
Yes, you did.
if I were a selectman or whatever, I would have no issue selling the property to whoever you're going to sell it to. So,
Thank you.
okay, you're welcome.
So, since we've heard that from Mr. Randall, can we continue on with the public hearing for the sale of this land?
What do we do next?
Well, does anybody have any questions from the,
Yeah.
does anybody have any questions concerning this piece of property?
I do not.
Hi, this is David.
Yes, this is
Hello?
David Rule.
Right. My concern was just, I'd heard somewhere in this conversation that the tax map shows the land was part of the paper mill property. And I just was wondering if anybody had checked with the paper mill property owners if they thought it was their land or not. Because you might be getting into a problem if there was a difference of opinion on that.
That would be between the two property owners.
Mm-hmm.
Tony, it's Kathleen. A quit claim
Yep.
is saying this is the information we have and we're giving you the property as is. We do not guarantee pinpoints, how many acreage, what the acreage is. It's what you see is what you get. Is that kind of what a quit claim is?
Right. What I envision here happening is not going to be any real descriptions of the property other than the same description that was used when the town got their title to it.
Yeah.
Okay. But then what would happen is once my client gets, if it so gets conveyed to my client, what we will end up doing is we will record a boundary survey plan at the Grafton County Registry of Deeds. And on that plan, it will have all the deed references referencing how the stuff broke down on it. And it'll have a reference on there where my client got the title from. And then anybody can chase the title back because it'll be very clear to do. Once you get it figured out, it's very clear.
Yes.
And so the town's not going to have liability because you don't warrant the correctness of it. You issue a quitclaim deed, and a quitclaim deed is like a buyer beware thing. You know, it may be there, or it may not. I could actually give you all a quitclaim deed to my neighbor's property, okay, and we could record it at the registry. But if I didn't own it, then when somebody tries to go and do survey work over there, they're going to figure out that, well, Tony Randall never had title to it, so he quitclaimed you nothing. You paid for nothing. and the people would not have you people would not have a claim to my neighbor's property.
I do have a bridge I'd like to sell you.
So. I had a dam at one point in time.
I
sold.
know.
Oh, yes, you did.
Okay. Any other questions?
I have none.
Charlie, where are we at in the process?
No other comment. Close the public hearing and determine whether or not you want to vote.
At this point, ladies and gentlemen, I will close the public comment. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make that motion
And what's your motion?
to close the public hearing to public comment.
No, we don't
Okay.
need that. The meeting has been closed. We need a motion to sell the property.
Oh, well, I didn't know. I made the motion to close.
No, the hearing was closed by the chair.
Gotcha.
Okay.
I make the
Okay.
motion to convey the town property to, oh gosh, I forgot its name, Commerce LLC by quit claim. Is that what we need?
Yep.
Does that work, Tony?
Yeah, Commerce Properties LLC is the current owner of 14 Winter Street, and that's who would be purchasing it from the town.
I will second that motion.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote. Kathleen DeWolf,
Aye.
Alan Silly,
Aye.
Francis Newton,
Aye.
Eli Badger says aye.
Wait. $1,000 is the price.
$4,000
Yes.
or
$10,000?
if that's what we can get.
Wait a minute, Charlie, don't get out of hand here. It was $10,000, and he would pay to have the deeds drafted and recorded at the registry of deeds.
Yes, I believe that's what's stated in the first public hearing we had.
Yes.
Put that in the motion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you want to re-vote on that to add the $1,000 in there?
I mean, everyone is here. I mean, is there any objection?
There is
No.
no objection from me.
It's what we agreed to
Yes.
before. Still-
Okay,
$1,000 deed and recording.
quick claim deed.
Okay,
Moving on.
moving on.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Approval
Tony.
of
Okay.
minutes.
I'm gonna sign off, and if you guys have any questions or need anything, let me know.
Okay,
I'll inform my client of what went on, and we'll move forward with doing the deed and getting the town a check.
thank you to Tony.
No, thank you, appreciate it.
Approval of minutes.
Bye.
I have one clarification. Page 3, line 23 and 24. It's a little awkward. I propose it's to change it to based on physical. Based on the safety and administrative support for the utility clerk position and strike being alone at the utility building.
Gotcha. All right.
Or we could have based on the physical concerns of safety. Does that sound better?
Based on the safety and administrative support for the,
Yeah.
I like striking being alone at the utility building.
Okay. That's what I propose.
Anything else?
For me,
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. Kathleen DeWolf,
Aye.
Alan Silly,
Aye.
Fran Newton,
Aye.
Eli Badger says aye. Moving on to new business. NHDOT Bridge Design, Mr. Jerry Zoller is going to present to us tonight in wonderful black and white. Mr. Zoller,
Yeah, thank you. Can you hear me?
yes.
Okay. I'm not too smooth with doing these, so you'll bear with me, but I'm going to put up what I sent to Mr. Smith and just go through it briefly. And I think I have to press the share screen.
Well, actually, it's already up there.
Is it, the only problem is I can't control it.
All you have to do is say,
Okay.
scroll down.
Okay, well, we'll do it your way. That's fine. So I'll just start talking. So thank you for the opportunity to present my project. I've been before you a couple other occasions. Years ago, we did the Ashland Bridgewater Union Bridge. And then more recently, a couple years ago, we did the Collins Street Bridge. So the department is doing a number of bridges on the interstate. And you're familiar up in that region with the work that they just completed around exit 23 and exit 22. And we group them into bundles, and we can do like 4 to 6 bridges per bundle. So the one they just completed was bundle 5. This one that I'm presenting is bundle 6. And so we're proposing, well, you can see where the bundles are on the map there. We have one bridge down in Concord at exit 17, and then the other 3 up in your neck of the woods. So you can scroll down to the next, if you would. Yeah. So just to understand what I'm dealing with, I have what I call the 5 essential units for bridge painting, just so people understand. So in the upper right picture is the what I call the rapid deployment unit, where the workers stand to do the work on the actual bridge. The next bridge, the next photo down to the left shows that unit, which is on a scissors lift on the back of a truck, and it can go up and down and so forth.
Are you leaving right now?
I'm sorry. And then the next several photos show the other major pieces: the grit recycler, the compressor, the hazardous waste drums, and the dust collector. And if you were to put all these, as well as the equipment truck that has the paint equipment and so forth, if you put all these in a train, it's about 200 feet long. In the upper left corner, this picture will be apropos, or it'll be relevant to the presentation for Ashland, where we have a temporary traffic light, and then all the vehicles are in a train with a lane closure and alternating one-way traffic. So that gives you the picture of what I'm going to be talking about. You can go ahead and scroll down. This what I sent you has all 4 sites in it, so we're only going to talk about the 2 in Ashland, but this fact sheet kind of summarizes everything for you in terms of the what we're going to be doing. The work, basically, we're going to be advertising the work later in September, with the work anticipated for next season, and we're giving them the whole season to do the work, as you'll see in a few moments. But at any given site, they only have 8 to 10 weeks to finish the site, so they're not going to have things all they're not going to affect traffic like for the whole season or whatever. It's limited once they start. The next few bullets of traffic impacts, I'm not going to go over it right here because it's easier to see it with the photos and stuff. So I'll wait on that. But that summarizes it. Just a second. So just so you know, on the fact sheet there, Of course, all the lead paint will be contained, and you're familiar with seeing that, and the work hours will be during the day, 7 to 7, and the finished color will be dark brown. Okay, so now this here is Site 1. In the upper left, I say Bundle 6, Site 1. So this is a Concord Hoyt Road, and we're not really going to stop on this other than to look at the photo in the lower left. The lower left photo shows what it looked like up at Pinnacle Hill Road from a couple years ago, and just gives you an idea where we have the support equipment up on the overpass, and then the interstate traffic is handled with those daily lane closures with the rapid deployment unit that I was showing you, and then the center span over the median and the end spans can be done during the daytime, or they're done separately. So you kind of have a mixed mismatch. So that's a good photo that will be relevant here in a moment. So you could scroll down to the next photo or the next page, and keep going, because that's at Site 1. And then this here is at Hoyt Road as well. So you can move on. I mean, you're welcome to look at that if you want, but okay, so now we're in Ashland, and the first site, which I call Site number 2, is at the railroad just before exit 24. And so there's no place to put any of this equipment under the bridge. Even if the railroad gave us permission, which they wouldn't, there is no way to even get to the rail level that I'm aware of. So we're going to give the contractor a lane closure or a shoulder closure on the interstate itself. And it's hard to see it exactly, but in the picture in the lower left corner, I have a sketch of the lanes and so forth. And right now, the department, actually, we had a meeting this afternoon and another meeting on Thursday with the Traffic Control Committee. And so we're in the process of deciding whether to actually close a lane, which is our first choice, or to shift the lane. So the way this is written, this has the lane shift option described, but it may not end up that way. We may have a lane closure, and that would be similar to what's occurring right now up at Bog Brook, just north of you. But the work would be during the off-season. I say in the lower right-hand box, in the off-season before Memorial Day, and this is best for the railroad as well, because they have more train traffic during the fall season, as you can imagine. And so the work on the interstate would be done during that time frame. And the work is, and then of course for the actual protection of the workers and the placement of the contractor's equipment, there'll be a Jersey barrier protecting the work zone off to on the shoulder. So if we do a lane shift, it'll just mean moving the lines over 2 to 4 feet and narrowing the lane from 12 to 11. Or if we do the lane drop or the lane closure, it'd be 2 lanes down to 1. And of course, the traffic would be reduced during the time there as well. On the next page, this just shows a sketch of kind of how they actually do the work that involves the railroad. So we're in the process of working with the railroad to find out what time frames they will permit us to work within that envelope, 15 feet either side of, or surrounding the track, and then whatever height limitations. Otherwise, all the work will be suspended from the bridge, from both bridges, and access from up above, like I was showing you. The next page shows just a simple aerial view of the exit 24, and so when people talk about this, they can see what the effects are and so forth. So we will have that written down in our traffic control plan, so that won't affect the town too much, other than just to be aware that that's part of our Bundle 6 program. So the next bridge or the next page, which is site number 3, this is the one that will affect you directly. This is the North Ashland Road over the interstate, and it's before exit 25, and you're familiar with this road. This will be very similar, if you recall, a couple years ago in New Hampton, the Pinnacle Hill Road, like I mentioned, it'll be very similar to that, what we're proposing. The second row, right-hand picture shows the North Ashland Road, and in the next box to the left, it shows you what the pavement width is 30 feet. So there's plenty of room to give. I don't have a sketch, but you can picture, you know, all that equipment will be in a train on one side. The other side will be for traffic, and it'll be regulated with the temporary traffic signals on both ends. And the traffic volume is low enough that it won't be too much of an inconvenience, I trust. And then on the interstate, well, I guess I have that same photo in the lower left. It shows the work on the interstate where the rapid deployment unit will be on each lane, you know, sequentially going across the bridge. So what they do basically is they'll pull up to during their work shift. They'll pull up. They'll partition or put in these baffles to divide the work up, and they'll blast and paint on one setup. Then they'll come and they'll move over to the next lane and blast and prime. I should say blast and prime, and they make their way across over the pavement. Then they'll go back to the beginning and they'll put on the intermediate coat and then move to the middle and the right, the left, and so forth, and then come back again and do the top coat. So each barrel of the interstate is roughly 2 weeks of interruption. And so obviously this would directly affect the interstate traffic. And as you can see in the lower right-hand box, I say that we're basically eliminating weekends. So northbound, they can only do work Sunday through Thursday, and southbound have lane closures only Monday through Friday. And those temporary lane closures on the interstate will be cleared out after each work day shift, you know, each work shift. Whereas up on top on the overpass, that lane closure is there for the whole project, which is estimated to be 10 weeks, 8 to 10 weeks. So that's a quick fly through. A couple other quick points. One is that this whole project is currently on shelf. So right now in the department, I've prepared 3 bundles, one of which is fully funded and ready to go. It's in the schedule. It's going to go in the middle of September. And I have 2 other bundles, this bundle and another one up in Franconia, which are dependent on availability of funds. So if they'll determine around September 1st if there's enough money in the program, they will take it off shelf, you might say, and put it into the ad schedule, and the project will go. So we're hoping that that's the case. We're anticipating that that's the case, in which case this construction I've described today would take place next year. If the funds are not available and they determine to allocate them somewhere else, well, then this project is scheduled for advertising in 2021, and the work would be in 2022. So there's a little bit of a time frame there that you can be aware of. And then obviously our normal procedure, we would notify the public when this work's going to be done. Obviously the North Ashland Road would inconvenience folks for a little bit, and we would have notification of that when the project is bid and we have a contractor and he comes in and establishes when he's going to do the work during the season. We'll have a pre-construction meeting, and obviously you folks will be invited, and we can hash out it or discuss any impacts to the scheduling and to emergency response units and so forth like that, so that everybody is on board for the time frame and the traffic control and the sign packages and all that sort of thing. And then the last item that I wanted to just mention briefly is part of all this process, which you would be familiar with from other projects, is that we have a document called the it's a work zone agreement. And what it does is you folks sign it, we sign it, and it acknowledges that during the project that the department is in charge of traffic control items and so forth. It's called the Municipal Work Zone Agreement. So I left a copy with Mr. Smith, and he would give that to you folks to sign at your convenience. And we do include that in the contract, so we would ask you to send it back, in a couple weeks or whatever. I think I'm running out of notes to bring up here, and unless you have any questions. And
I
you've been
do.
through- Yes,
North Ashland Road, where
Okay.
the picture, where you have the barrel in the middle. Both
Yes.
sides on each end, where the security fencing is, there's a lot of brushy growth. Will that be cut back?
That's not part of the bridge painting projects. That's normally a function of
Some of
I guess
it's
highway maintenance.
touching the security fencing, butted right up to it.
Yeah. Well, I can mention that to the folks and see if I can't promise anything because I'm not familiar with that particular function. In reality, the contractor, well, let me think. Yeah, I can't speak to that authoritatively because I say the contractor, obviously he'll be walking down the embankment at both ends, tending work on the ends and so forth. And so I'm not familiar with them cutting things to do that normally, but I guess I'll have to defer to the highway maintenance folks and bring it to their attention to see if they can come through and do some cutting. But to answer your overall question, it's not something that is part of the bridge painting project.
So is that state property?
Yes, within the right of way.
Well, wouldn't it be within the purview of our town DPW to do that trimming?
Yeah, again, I'd have to defer to, it could very, yeah, I'm sorry, I have to defer to others on.
No, only because there's been a few residents who have complained about that brushy growth. And I told them that it's gonna be painted within the next couple of years, that I would ask that question, but I believe it is on state property. So if you can give us an answer to that, then I can pass it on to the people who are concerned about that.
Yeah, I'll have to ask the highway maintenance folks. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm sort of clueless on that particular. You stumped me, so I'll have to ask.
It is touching. I can't, because I live on North Ashland Road. The vegetation is touching that security fencing that's up at the top. I don't.
Yeah.
There's a picture on page 8 on the right-hand side, the last picture down. That's the area I'm talking about.
Jerry, I have a couple questions for Jerry.
Yes.
Jerry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Are you guys going to require police details?
Okay, well, that's what the municipal work zone agreement is that it handles who's in charge of it. And again, once the job goes out, it's handled by our Bureau of Construction. And how they determine who the officers are that are needed is something that construction determines. My understanding is that their philosophy, they try to use local officers as much as possible. But will they use police details? I think we have flaggers set up to help when they install the traffic signals. Will we need police officers for that? I'm not sure. I wouldn't really think so, but it would be a short duration thing. The any officers on the interstate would be state police, and we have funding in there for that. So again, I have to ask construction.
Yeah.
What their normal procedure is for that.
Jerry, another question. On page 5, I noticed the concrete has some graffiti. Will you guys paint over that?
This is underneath the railroad bridge. Well, one of my pet peeves is graffiti, and I wish we could.
Come on, Jerry, it's a pet peeve. You can make it happen.
Well, how long do you think it'd stay clear? We did that on the high level bridge in Portsmouth, but it was all behind fencing. So once we got all the graffiti off, at least it's going to stay for a while. But I would have to ask the upper management, and I'm pretty sure they're going to say no but I don't know. I should let them, because it's like nobody sees it down here. But the good question. I'm not doing too well on giving you good answers for these questions. Does anybody have a question about the paint?
I got another one for you, Jerry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
How much does a project like this cost?
Okay. Yeah, it costs a lot. This particular bundle, these 4 sites, which include 6 bridges, the construction and construction engineering, $3.04 million.
Wow.
It costs a lot. And don't forget, I'd say a good half of the painting is just the containment, which is an environmental and a public safety exercise, which is worthwhile, of course. So it's a lot more than just the actual application of the paint. We also clean up paint chips that have accumulated under the bridges and so forth. And in this particular job, the traffic control being where we're impacting the interstate traffic at all 4 sites plus local roadways. There's a lot of traffic control. And then we have the state police, quite a bit of state police funding, and also regular inspection for the painting.
Okay, Jerry,
well.
one last question. Clearly, I think the paint makes the bridge last longer, and these aren't red listed bridges. Are they red listed?
Are you asking me if they're red list bridges?
Yes.
No, I don't believe they are, no.
Mm.
This is part of what we call maintenance and preservation. So hopefully we're dealing with the paint with the bridge before they becomes a real problem. It's common practice over the years to let bridges just go and then they get really bad. So we're trying to keep up with it. So if nothing more, I'll say thank you very much, and I'll try to find the answer to some of these questions, and I'll email Mr. Smith.
Very good.
Yeah, we'll get you that work zone agreement too, Jerry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on, unless there's any more comments. Ashland Parks and Recreation Director Barney, after-school program.
Hi. Yes, I am coming to you to see if I can open the after-school program with the plan, which is basically an extension of what I did for the summer camp. The summer camp went well. We had the 15 kids that we wanted to have, and there were no issues. We did all the safety precautions. Parents were very happy. They wanted it to go longer, but we weren't ready to do that at that time. But basically, I want to start the after-school program, not the day school starts, because I went and talked to the principal, Kelly Avery, and we kind of decided that the school needs to have a little time to iron out some of the kinks maybe for their back-to-school program. So we decided that starting after Labor Day would be better for them to get their stuff ready before we are thrown into the mix. And what we would do is masks would be worn by the kids and the workers when in the building. We'd have temperatures taken before they come to us, even though they have their temperature taken at school in the morning. Before we leave the school, our people will take temperatures again and have it documented like we did for summer camp. I had Steve Heath come down to the building with me, and we went over the floor plan and figured out where we can put tables and chairs to make sure everybody has the 6 feet social distancing away from each other. So I now know exactly where the tables can go and the chairs can go, and I will have assigned seating, so the kids will come in. They'll have assigned seats, sit in their seats. When they're sitting in their seats, they can take their masks off because we do a snack when they come down. They'll put their mask backs on to go back outside, weather permitting, when we go outside. But they will not have them on when we're outside playing because, we can social distance on the field and basketball, tennis courts, wherever we use them. We ordered, Craig helped immensely, thank you, Craig, with finding sprayers. So it's basically like a paint sprayer, only it's for the sanitizing now. We ordered those where we can sanitize all surfaces every day after the kids leave. We're going to use the same sanitation material that the school uses, so there's not going to be a difference. Everything's already okayed by the school, so we'll use the same. We ordered automatic soap dispensers, automatic towel dispensers. I have a plumber coming in and putting in the kits for the automatic flushing for the bathrooms, and water. The faucets for the water, so everything is going to be hands-free. We'll still have plenty of sanitizer there, and the kids will sanitize their hands before they come in the building, both when we get there and after we come inside from playing outside. We're going to utilize both the upstairs and the downstairs if we need those numbers, because the downstairs is now heated. Like I said, Steve went through the upstairs and downstairs with me, so we have those numbers all set. Parents have been asking me, emailing me, and I told them I would put the information out as soon as I talk to you guys. I think the hardest thing for me is going to be trying to find people to work it with the college kids and stuff going back, and probably would not, I'm not real keen on having the college kids come in to work with where they're coming from, basically. So anybody have any questions or?
Sounds like you thought things through very thoroughly, and I appreciate that.
Trying
Thank
to.
you for the overview of the summer program too.
Mhm. I assume you'll be in contact with the school because if things change, if there's a new surge, we're all subject to possible changes, but.
Absolutely. If the school shuts down, we are shut down instantly. Same
great.
day, everything.
Great.
How many staff members are you going to need, Ann?
Well, I put my numbers where I needed to have 15 and we maxed out at 34, which is less than we had last year. So, and I had 3 people last year.
I assume it will be somewhat dependent on your ability to find staff.
Right. If I can only find 2 people, then our numbers, we're gonna have to cap it at that.
Yeah.
And everybody that's asked, I'm telling them it's gonna be like summer camp, first come, first serve. They're gonna have to be there every day, because sometimes there were kids that came like Tuesdays and Thursdays. But I don't want to take up that spot where it could be somebody all week. So there are gonna be some stipulations like that, so that might make it so some of the kids don't come if parents only wanted it for 2 days. But I still think we'll get enough.
Great.
I'm comfortable with what she has put forward.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the after-school program as outlined by Ms. Barney.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. Kathleen DeWolf,
Aye.
Alan Silly,
Aye.
Fran Newton,
Aye.
Eli Badger says aye. Thank you, Ann. I read your process for doing this and thought you covered it very well.
Thank you. If I could bring something else up that I came up afterwards with the beach closing. The beach closed on Friday, the 14th. I was approached by the church to ask to use the beach because they've used it in the past. They want to do like they want to baptize some people, I guess, which what I told them was, you know, after the 14th, it's a swim at your own risk. And basically I'm not policing who's going or how many are going now that we have nobody there. But they also asked to use the electrical and the bathrooms, and I'm not really comfortable doing that. But I told them I would ask you guys to see what your opinion on that is, if you want me to leave the electrical on for them. And the thing with the bathroom is my lifeguards and my people that were at the gate would clean after each person. Like we had a key. They couldn't just go in and out. They had to come and get a key. And I can't guarantee that would happen. However, if it's at your own risk, I don't feel comfortable making that decision, so I'd like to ask you.
What would they need the electrical for?
Megaphone type, you know, stereo, so that they can be heard and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we decided to close the beach on the 14th. I think we should stick to that.
Should we shut the beach down completely and lock it?
Well, I think we should lock the building.
At least that.
I
The
agree.
building is locked.
I agree. The building should be locked.
The building is locked.
Yeah.
I have not turned the power off, only because the plumber is going to put the no touch stuff there as well, since
Mhm.
we have the getting refunded because of the COVID. We're getting all the bathrooms done.
Good.
So
You know-
it is locked, and but the electric is still on there. Not that should make a difference. It is on.
Mhm.
I think we should stick to the plan. You have enough on your plate now, and you, without another entity using the beach. Next year might be different.
Who would be responsible for cleaning up after them?
Yeah.
They said they would hire someone.
Mhm.
I don't know who.
Would they pay for the electric? Did they say anything about paying us?
They said they would make a donation. I don't know what the donation would be. I don't know. I mean, if we start doing something like that, if somebody else wants to rent the beach, did we set a precedence?
Yeah, that is concern.
I think this year we should stick to Ann's original plan. The beach is closed. swim at your own risk next year.
I mean, if they want to go over and use the beach, the water, I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
I mean, because we're not policing that,
right.
just not the, you know, if we open it up for one thing and we're got kind of get ourselves in a corner and we'll have to do it.
I
For everyone.
Yeah, I agree. So, you know, have to give them our regrets for this year, and see what happens next year.
So what action do you want from us, Ann?
I gave my opinion and I said I would ask you because you're my bosses to see if you agreed or if you thought it would be okay to do it. I said, if you guys want me to do it, I would do it. So if
Can
you
we do it
want
by
me to
consensus?
open it, I will open it.
Do we need a vote? I think there's a consensus that we're not comfortable with opening it up for this.
If we are going to close it, I feel that we should padlock the gates.
People can still get in, though.
That means that we have to go and clean up after them.
Mhm. But
Because
don't keep it
I'm
swim-
sorry, I don't think people will actually clean up after themselves.
I agree, but don't we usually have swim at your own risk the last 2 weeks of August? It's still.
If we lock it up, it sends a fairly strong message that there's no swimming, no gathering there.
Now, is this gonna impact the campers?
Yes.
That's what I'm concerned about.
Yeah, that's why I would say swim at your own risk. We close the snack shack and the bathrooms and,
Turn off the power
turn off the power.
and
And
ask them not to use it for their function.
So we're turning the power off on the bathrooms and the showers for
Yeah.
the,
No.
No.
Snack shack,
Just the
just for
snack.
the snack set.
the building that's on the beach.
Mhm.
the
Okay.
beach pavilion.
Yeah. I think we ought not to padlock it because of the campers and,
Mhm.
yeah,
No,
at this point. But we should tell them that we really don't want them to hold their function there. And, you know, let's see how it goes.
Okay. Consensus, or do you want to do a motion? I would prefer a motion.
I agree with you. I'll make the motion that the beach is officially closed as of August 14th. Swim at your own risk. There will be no power or bathroom facilities available. Does that cover everything?
And that we've asked them not to hold their function there.
Make an alternative plan.
Yeah. I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. Kathleen DeWolf,
Aye.
Alan Silly,
Aye.
Fran Newton,
Aye.
Eli Badger says aye.
So that being said, Ian, should we, are they continuing to use
They are at the ballpark.
the ballpark?
Yes.
And they're using the power there. Would you? Well, I guess we don't know if the school's gonna be using the fields this year as they have in the past.
We don't know yet.
Yeah.
If sports are gonna go on as usual.
How
I
does the-
have been asked by Pemmy Baker if they can use the field.
Or is it
Pemmy
a?
Baker soccer, the little
Soccer.
kids usually do soccer down there. They're not on the field because softball is still playing down there
Mhm.
on the same days and stuff, and they're not interfering. They have, after the first few weeks, they have learned where to park so that they're not on the grass
Mhm.
anymore. So that's,
But would you be more comfortable that now school children will be, I think you were very generous allowing them to use that space, that outside space all summer. Would you feel more comfortable if September 1st, they make arrangements to hold their fellowship within their church.
Well, it's not the same day as the school is there, is that
No.
correct?
It's
I
Sunday.
just, do we want to, I don't want to use, do we want to manage how many outside, how many entities use the field? Just a thought. We can, yeah, we can, nobody else, has
I
a-
have told them that they do not have that space like reserved.
Right.
You know, if they come down and somebody else is there, there's, you know, so be it. I've told them that. They know that. So it's kind of just like if a group of kids came down to play kickball, I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's not like that part of the field is blocked off for them to have their service.
Okay,
They may, you know, people have told me that they have that on their website or Facebook page or something. I don't know, but I do know I have in writing where I talked to them and said that it's not reserved, but you know, they can come down as long as they're social distancing because our park is open.
okay. I'm comfortable with that.
going forward, the board should be informed of these decisions because I saw it on Facebook. That's how I found out about, they were holding their fellowship services there. Just,
Well, they
you
have it
know,
on the sign too.
I'm sorry, what, this sign,
In front of the church, they have it on their sign.
So before I tell people they can come down because the park is open and it's not reserved, I should ask you guys first.
just to make sure we know how many people, at least that's how I feel,
Well,
that,
I don't know how many people. They don't tell me.
no. How many groups at a time? Sometimes aren't you using both ends of the field or?
Yeah, like I have softball softball is scheduled on Tuesday, Thursdays, and Sundays.
Just give that information to Charlie so we have some idea of what groups are using the field.
I mean, I trust you to manage the space.
Yeah. You know, once again, when people approach me and ask me questions that I have to say, I don't know, I only know what I saw on Facebook.
Right.
It puts me in an awkward position and plus then it could reflect on other people too. So I'm trying to put this as politely as I can, but I think you know what I'm saying and that we just need to keep lines of communication open.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are we moving on?
You all set?
Vendor permit application for Andre Dean. Charlie,
Is Andre Dean here?
I have no idea.
Oh, he's Casey.
It's Casey. He is here. The floor is yours, Andre.
Next.
Yeah, so I was hoping to start a food trailer on the private property that I'd sent in on my application. The plan was to do Friday, Saturday, Sundays, 6:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. for breakfast. Mainly breakfast sandwiches, pre-cooked meats that I could cook on a flat top so I wouldn't have any issues with the health department, which I did speak with the health department and I sent in the application for the approval or pre-approval on that to allow to get it on the application. And then coffee as well. And then the plan was to run until November 1st just to see how it went for the first year while working full time.
You have your state hawkers permit
I do, yep. I passed that along a couple days ago.
and you have your a temporary, more or less, permit from DHS, right?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
And he has his permission from the private property owner.
And he has his permission from the owner.
So it's going, according to this map, of Sharps Lane?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to accept this vendor permit as complete. Application is complete.
I will second that.
Do I hear any further discussion? Hearing none. Kathleen DeWolf,
Aye.
Alan Silly,
What did he say?
didn't hear you, Alan.
Aye.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Fran Newton,
Aye.
Eli Badger says aye. It looks like we get to sign off on your permit.
Great. Thank you very much.
So we'll have to go into the town office one by one and sign it. And then the town manager can pass it on to you.
Great.
So touch base with him to find out if we've all come, at least 20 of us have to come in and sign it.
Okay. Will do.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please come by for breakfast.
You have a sign up?
Is he any good? Is he a good cook?
He is very good. I do not cook, if that gives you any indication.
No, that doesn't give me any indication of how well he cooks.
Yes. You'll have to come check it out to find out.
Okay,
Thank you and good luck.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
moving on. Ashland Trustee of the Trust Fund, general update, and this is where we're talking about the fill pipe. Is that correct, Amanda?
Yes. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. We all were, well, everyone was resigned, so I was the only one for a while, notified that there was a possible problem with the oil tank at the library at the Scrivener building from Tom Peters' resignation letter. And I was unaware of this. Apparently, this is something that he was made notified of in 2019 by the man who was filling the oil, Pemmy Fuels, found at least two pinholes in the filler tube of the tank as he was filling it one day, and reported that to the office. And Rob of Pemmy Fuels, when he was driving by one day, saw Tom Peters' van by the library and got out and explained it to Tom. It was never brought up at the Scrivener meeting, but I discovered it in Tom's resignation letter. But at any rate, the long and short of it is Tom wrote in his resignation letter, he had planned with Rick Perret to dig around the tank and replace the filler tube. So I did some research on this, various bids, to find out what was going on. I talked to Pemmy Fuels. That's how I know the story about Rob of Pemmy Fuels telling this to Tom Peters, to talk to Rob. But at any rate, I put in all my paperwork regarding this, and it becomes quite costly. We have a few problems with this. The tank is a buried tank, and it is at least 40 years old. I know that because Rob of Pemmy Fuels talked to Yeton, who put it in at least 40 years ago. So we know that.
We know it's an old tank.
It's an old tank and it's buried, which is
What
also,
are you asking us to do right now?
Well, I'm asking you to look at the various bids that we have received for replacing the tank, which go from asbestos abatement was said 7,000 and 19. Oh, the Excel mechanic bid, which was the last one that came in, was 19,005. So my point is, it's very, very expensive to do. However, I have talked to Craig Moore about asking, and he felt, and I'd also like to say that they did a fantastic job on the lawn, and we're very, very thankful for that. It was a great cost saver for us. He felt that DPW could dig around the tank very much as Tom Peters specified in his resignation letter, as well as if you looked at the PEMI fuel letter that I put in, they said that it would be a temporary fix to dig around and to replace the filler tube. The reason the filler tube needs to be replaced is not that the filler tube is leaking oil. That's not the point. Because there's pinholes in the filler tube, it is allowing water to come into the tank, be it in a heavy rainstorm, be it as snow melts. So this is obviously compromising the tank, you know, what's inside the tank could fill it with water, or I should say is most likely. So it needs to be fixed. Now, we have a lot of issues about having money to spend to do this or not money to spend to do this. And I included in the packet that I handed into the Board of Selectmen a letter from the Attorney General's office. And there is a line in that letter that says that the principal is not perhaps necessarily $40,475.70, which is what Emma Scribner left, but that there is also accrued interest to be added to this principal.
Appreciation.
Appreciation, yes. Which
Okay.
means that
I'm going to stop
he may
you.
not have any money.
Amanda, I'm going to stop you once again. Have you spoken to the library trustees about their plans for either the building or what they want to do?
Yes, we had a joint meeting. We invited them to our meeting when we discussed this. The thing about, well, first of all,
is there a plan between you two to either discard this building or for them to go somewhere else?
We were putting together, in fact, I wrote the draft and sent it to the Scribners today, and that draft of our proposal will go to the library trustees, and we have been in communication. We are concerned on two levels. If I may make my point, please, Eli. We are concerned on two levels about this oil tank. On the first level is, number one, we don't have the money to fix it as Scribners. And we are, as things stand today legally, we are the custodians of that. We have custodial authority of the building. The library trustees do not have custodial authority of the building. And it is a town-owned building. And we have now an oil tank that is buried and is leaking water into the tank, and the filler tube needs to be replaced. And as I explained in the bids that I submitted, these prices range from approximately $5,000 all the way up to about $26,000 if you include the asbestos abatement, because we are having plumbers look at this and tell us that they will not go down there and work in the basement unless this asbestos is abated. Now, that's the one problem we have, is that we have a very expensive fix, and as the Attorney General's letter hints, we may be already spending the principal and not able to have any more money to spend, period. The second problem that we have in this is that because the trust has been so seriously depleted, and we don't have the ability to spend more money, perhaps, we are working with the library about what we're going to do going forward. Now, should we have 90,000. The principal is more than 40,005. I don't know what the principal is with the appreciation value, but if we did spend the 15,000 or so, 20,000 it would take to do the tanks, we are now in a position with the library, possibly in the future, doing something to the building. I don't know. I'm not a library trustee. That's not my issue. But it could involve taking out the tank, moving the tank. What if the library puts on some kind of addition and the tank now has to move? Well, we just spent $20,000 doing it this way. And maybe that was only for 5 years or for 10 years. So we are looking, as you are pointing out, Eli, to a very broad future for the library and trying to spend what few dollars we now have left in this trust in a very prudent manner that will have lasting positive effects for the town as well as for the town tax bill. So we are asking that as it showed in the paperwork that I have submitted, we are asking if DPW could do the digging around and replace the filler pipe. Now, is this the final fix? Absolutely not. We've got a buried tank. It can't stay buried. But it would probably get us through for the next 3 to 5 years. It would be a temporary fix that would stop water from leaking into the tank. And as we move forward, we have been in joint talks with the library trustees. They've been at all of our meetings as we're making our decisions moving forward. You know, we have no money. I mean, Walter Durack is here to explain when I say that there's 90,000, but we have no money. Perhaps Walter could best explain this.
Hi, everyone. So Amanda was saying that, yes, right now the trust fund has a balance of $96,000 in it. Emma Scribner's will in 1936 bequeathed $40,500 to the town in the trust fund. Did a little bit of digging as to the history of how things have been invested and spent and how we ended up at the 96,000. I went back 15 years, which is as far as I could go with what was available to me. And in 2005, the trust fund had $174,000 in it. Over the last 15 years, the trust funds gained $73,000 in returns and appreciation through change in market value, which actually is not too bad. The issue runs into the fact that over the last 15 years, the fund has distributed $151,000, which is about $10,000 a year. So what that boils down to in very simple terms, over the last 15 years that I had access to, the fund has spent twice what it has brought in income, which by very simple mathematics tells you that it's into the principal. By what amount? I'm not a lawyer. I couldn't tell you. The math is complicated. I'd probably geek out on it and really would spare you the details in this kind of discussion. What that $10,000 a year was spent on was, some building maintenance projects. There were hefty management fees paid to the fund advisor. There were distributions for stipends. There was also distributions for secondary insurance. We have, since the current slate of trustees has taken over, canceled that secondary insurance policy because Primex covers everything that would be involved if there was a loss. The stipends have been done away with, and we're in the process of doing away with the management fees, which, okay, from a performance perspective, is really going to help the trust fund. Right now, I'll give you some idea that if the markets were behaving normally, which they've done anything but do that this year, the fund could reasonably produce about $2,800 in income. So if we're spending on average $10,000 a year, like have been done historically, we've got a problem with spending about 3 times what could reasonably expected in income from the fund. Right now, given the current volatility in the market, a $1,500 annual income estimate is far more reasonable, which now we're talking about something 8 times if we were to spend the $10,000. So gives you some sense of the position that we're in as far as what the trust can actually do for us.
Could I ask a question?
Sure.
You said if Craig and his crew dig up the pipe, it would be a temporary fix. What would be the cost of that, replacing the filler pipe with us doing the digging?
Well, when I talked to Craig more about this was last month, when we were actually talking about the lawn, and I said, well, I know I hate to talk about the pipe and on the oil tank, but let me tell you what else we've got. I mean, I don't know. That would be a cost that for Craig to answer. He told me at the time that they were able to dig around. It would, he doesn't have to dig it out, just dig down, and that he felt that at their shop, at their office, that they would have the metal piping and stuff needed to change the filler tube. That this is something I don't know anything about, but he felt confident that he could do it. As far as the cost, I don't know what DPW would charge.
Craig, address this?
Or is here?
Yes.
Right here.
I am here. It'd be fairly simple to dig it out. I'm not sure how deep it is. Alan thought maybe it was 4 feet deep. But in any case, whether it's handwork or, we get the backhoe up there and scrape off the top and do the rest by hand. I do have some small pieces of pipe. I believe it's the same size down at the garage that's sitting in the corner in our steel rack that would probably fit in there, but we'd have to do all the measurements and everything. But, a few hours of work and we could change it out. I mean, it's just labor, really.
Thank you, Craig. I am personally reluctant to spend any trustee money and any town money on a building that has so many other issues, and we don't know yet where we're going to go with all of this. And it's throwing good money after bad. So I would go for the Band-Aid personally, and hope we get some time to ponder all of the options.
Mhm.
I agree with you, Fran. That's why it's imperative that the Scribners, the library trustees, and Board of Selectmen
Meet.
Communicate with each other and work as a team.
I think we need to meet a special meeting of those
Yes.
3 groups.
We actually have a meeting on your agenda on October 15th, whatever the second
Okay.
Meeting is in October. We are already on the agenda for the Scribners to present our proposal. It is a proposal that we are presenting to the library trustees for them to edit and discuss at their meeting in September. And it will come back to us. And so this proposal, my point is that we're on the October BOS agenda. This proposal will be a joint proposal from both the library trustees and the Scribners. We've been in excellent communication about this and are moving forward together in joint communication.
We should probably not have much else on the agenda at that time. This could be a big
hefty discussion. I was to say, this might be worth a standalone meeting just.
Yeah.
My point was going to be that we should have a meeting between the Scribners and the library trustees and the BOS separate from
Our
the
business
normal
meeting.
Board of Selectmen's meeting.
Totally agree.
I agree too.
Well, if I could also interject, as we Scribners are trying to discuss, what we can do with a trust that may be so depleted now that we can spend nothing forward, and this building that, as we all know, has been neglected for many years in many situations. A deferred maintenance, I guess, would be another term. My point is that we Scribners have also been in communication with the Attorney General's office.
Mhm.
And discussing, what all our options are, so that when we do meet with you, please understand that it's not going to be a matter of us all looking each other in the eye and starting from square one, that we will be bringing to the table a pretty well researched plan on what we can and cannot legally do and what our options are.
And it might be nice to have legal input at that meeting.
Yes.
I don't know if we could get our own attorney in on that meeting, because clearly there are lots of moving parts here.
Well, it's yes and no. It is going to need to go to legal. We've learned what many of the parts are from the Attorney General's office, and I guess to avoid a spoiler alert, let's just say that there's really not going to be a whole lot that any of us are going to be able to say to each other, and it's going to have to go to legal.
Okay, maybe this isn't the time to have legal there. Once we get together and
Exactly.
come up with all of the issues, we can
Yes.
send it to legal. They don't need to sit
You
through.
have to use them prudently.
Yes.
Yep, very definitely. So can I make a motion to have Craig and DPW attempt to fix these?
Why not talk to Charlie? It's a maintenance issue. It's our property. Charlie?
I have no problem with it.
Okay.
I mean, Craig offered he can do the work, and it's
Yeah.
not a step in the way.
And he should do it.
Craig, you there?
Coordinate.
Sure, yep. I'll schedule it in.
And
Yeah.
Okay, Charlie, make it happen.
I will.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Amanda.
Yeah, let me know if I can
Hold
be.
on just a
help.
minute.
It's out.
Mr. Silly's raised his hand.
I'm just going to make a general comment. I believe you all know where I'm coming from. I realize the gravity of the situation, but the town has no obligation to help out with the maintenance and repair issues. It's the job of the trustees. Now, let's just say, for instance, that DPW goes in there and ruptures the tank. It is now our liability. That is one of the reasons I am against doing this at this time. That's all I have to say.
Again, Alan, as I said before, this is a town building.
With-
No matter what the trust was set up for, it is still a town building, and we have.
It is a town building, Fran. I agree with you, but we have no obligation whatsoever to help the trustees out. None.
And that's
They
based
have
on
total control.
what are you basing that on? Well, I don't agree. I think the majority of the board agrees it is our responsibility. Otherwise, what the heck?
We insure it. We
insure it, yes. So if there's an issue with a rupture, our town insurance will be contacted. All the trustees were by town vote was to manage the property.
And manage the trust.
And manage the trust. The Scribners with the trustees of the trustees of the trust fund manage the trust. That is their statutory duty. The two appointed Scribners are to assist the trustees of the trust fund in the management of the physical building and grounds. If we don't have the funds to do it, we can't just let that building sit there and be not used.
Well, I will add to my comment then that until such time as we know exactly how much money is available, I would still be against it.
Okay.
So where do we stand right now?
So again,
I got a question for you.
Go ahead, Charlie.
Alan, excuse me, Charlie?
Go ahead. Amanda, I was reading your letter from Tom Donovan. He's the director of Charitable Trust.
Yes.
He wrote that principal includes the original dollar value of the trust plus appreciation over years.
Yes.
How do you calculate that?
I don't know. That is again a question for legal. There must be, some kind of mathematical formula, Walter did his stocks and bonds, and everything, and it got very scary on what that could be, very high, much higher than 96,000, which is why, we are now looking at doing things for the integrity of the building and life safety. We are not putting in new carpeting. We are not remodeling anything. We're going to have to spend about $7,500 to fix a leaking roof. The leaked product of which I can take you up to the second floor and say, look up, and you go, oh, wow. And yeah, we've got a problem. We have found a hole, which was in the inspection report, that's approximately 3 feet by 18 inches in a crawl space. I could probably get myself through it if I wanted to. You can stand at the boiler and look toward the gas station and not see daylight, but start counting cars as they pass by. I'm looking at trying to keep possums out of the building, not mice. It's so it, I've said before, that when you very graciously took $1,100 a year off of our expenses by taking over the lawn care, we are in deep gum she, folks. This is not, what is going to happen. And in the beginning, I came to you about 15 months ago and I said I gave the trust somewhere between 18 and 36 months. And you know what? I was wrong. It's not making it 18 months.
Amanda, that's
another topic
for another time. What we're talking about, well, what Charlie wanted to know is how you calculate appreciation of money from 1938.
Of the principal, and that is something that would be for legal to determine.
An accountant could probably help you out also. I know that when
Possibly.
Water and Sewer did their CIP, David went through machinations and said, well, it's $1,000. We put $1,000 now. We have to add 3.5% to that because inflation has changed the amount of that $1,000 to continue up. Things are going to cost more. I would imagine that it would be something like that.
Yeah, but when you're dealing with invested funds and you're trying to distinguish a principal versus.
Do you know the exact answer?
I do not know the exact answer.
Okay, then you can't answer Charlie's question.
And I said I could not.
Okay, so until you do, he still has a question that needs to be answered.
And I said your legal probably could.
You have that option.
Do I have an option of sending it to legal? I'm not going to spend any of the trust to do that.
Well, then you can't answer that question.
Again, can we discuss all of this at our joint meeting?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any further talk about this?
Do we need a motion given Alan's objections? Or
I
is
don't believe that we need a motion. It's still,
still Charlie?
Alan eloquently gave his opinion,
Mhm,
and I appreciate his opinion.
mhm.
This is getting something taken care of for the town.
Yep.
We're
Okay.
solving a problem. One little step at a time.
Okay.
And right now, until we can get this whole thing figured out, I don't have a problem with doing some minor work to keep that building somewhat safe. I don't particularly want to replace the furnace because they've got water in the oil, the fuel.
Right.
Okay?
Mhm.
Any other for comments? Hearing none, moving on.
I had one on my agenda that wasn't listed. DPW was going to install a new crosswalk. Craig?
Wants to. Does DPW want to install a crosswalk, or does somebody want us to install a crosswalk?
Mutual, I would say. Right, Craig?
Well, they approached me. There's an association that owns the members who own the docks over there also own the parking lot on the other side of the road.
On the other side.
Yeah. So they own both pieces of property, and the walkway that they asked me to put the crosswalk on. They also own that. I did ask them to have Barry send me an email that said that he had no problems with it, and he did. I don't mind putting it there. It takes us about 30 minutes probably to put in a crosswalk. So it's not a big deal. We will be refreshing the crosswalks anyway for school. That's something we do every fall, just before school. So it's a perfect time to put one in. And I'm okay with it because there's a lot of traffic right through there, a lot of foot traffic. So it's probably a good thing to do. And it won't impact the department at all. And
okay.
Be fairly straightforward. And I think if anybody has any questions on where it's going, I can describe it. But
Well, I saw where you wanted to put it. Yes,
Yeah.
Fran.
You said you were going to refresh the crosswalks. Aren't I correct, Charlie, and that the crosswalks are going to be addressed in the TAP grant work?
No, Craig's talking about repainting.
Okay, but weren't they going to change some of the crosswalks, like the one for the Booster
Yep.
Club?
Yep.
So
Yep.
do we need to repaint those if they're going to be redone by the, under the?
you're right, Fran. I probably won't do those because if it's included, then I'm gonna let them do it.
Okay, just want to make sure you're not.
Yeah, so
doing
I would,
something that's-
typically, we would do anything that's faded, and especially up towards the school, you know, by the gymnasium
Yep,
and Gordon Street and that kind of stuff. I will do that one because I don't think I think that's where they're starting on Gordon Street. They're not going
Yeah.
across.
no, right,
So I'm just gonna do a few, we always do a few of them, and
okay,
it's just the crosswalk. So, yeah, we wouldn't get too far into it down on Main Street.
okay. So can you explain to me where this crosswalk is that we're discussing?
Yeah, I can, if you look at, if you're walking past you'd see that bathhouse that's right there, the little tan, I don't know, it's not labeled as a bathhouse, but it's a bathroom right there, the little building on the side of the road. Are you familiar with that?
Back up, what road are we talking about?
River Street,
What? River Street,
River Street,
okay,
It's over at
Just
the
before-
marina.
just before the end of the road, as you're turning onto Levitt Hill.
Right.
okay. All
So
right,
it's,
all right,
it's right,
Thank you.
it's right at River Edge Marina.
got it,
And the crosswalk is right in front of where you see all the boats, right on the side of River Street.
yep, okay,
So there's an existing crosswalk, and we would meet that crosswalk and go straight across the road.
okay.
That would face it up into the parking lot.
Now, if it adds safety, I'm in favor of it.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely is.
Okay,
And once again, we should look at no parking on the uphill side of that
absolutely.
if we're so concerned about
Is it
safety.
Is it still posted?
I don't think that,
I don't think it is.
I don't think so.
Well, right there where the sidewalk, there's no way you could park on the road. That section of the road is, I think probably if I measured it, would be less than 20 feet wide.
Oh, we have the chief joining us.
I just wanted to mention, you mentioned the no parking and whether we should post it on that other side of the road. In the beginning of the summer, I usually put out signs over there that say no parking on this side of the road. They always disappear. They get knocked over. The trailers take them out. So if we had some more of a permanent structure there, no parking signs, that might be pretty helpful. And there is a lot of traffic in that area, and a
Yes.
lot of pedestrian traffic. And I think the crosswalk is actually a very good idea.
I think the crosswalk is a good idea, but I do remember that ZBA a number of years ago, ZBA and Planning Board a number of years ago, when the property was owned by someone else, had a stipulation in there that there was to be no, along what was the Van Sickles property, which became Barry Gau's property, there was no parking on the uphill side.
Right. And it gets very dangerous. I walk and bike that road daily, walk or bike. And when cars are parked on the uphill side, you lose visibility and the road narrows. And I would love to see some permanent no parking signs there.
Well, they have made they've made parking spots on each side of that road.
I know.
You know, I mean, it's very tight. You're right, Fran.
Yep.
But they, as you know, that even on the uphill side, they've made it, and I don't know whether they ever got permission, but
I-
they
No.
put bluestone in there and made a parking area,
Yeah, I know.
which incidentally causes a water flow problem for me during the spring.
Oh, good. Great.
Well, I guess we need to revisit this then. Maybe Craig needs to give us some more field observation notes.
I do think that Craig's putting in the crosswalk is fine. I have no problem with that.
No.
And the chief would like it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's keep him happy for a minute.
Would you like to see no parking signs there too, Chief?
I would love that.
Thank you. Do we have permanent no parking signs?
No.
No.
We have to order them.
Okay.
Do they, Craig?
Yeah, I'd have to order them. Yeah, I think if you're gonna put them up next year, I know where the chief usually puts that no parking signs, especially going towards Ashland. Right now, they got more boat docks in there, and the Marine Patrol parks there most of the time, where exactly where he puts the
Well,
no
this would
parking
be on the
sign.
water
So,
side. It'd be on the
yeah,
Yeah,
main side.
it's something we probably should discuss with everybody
I agree.
because you're gonna put those signs up, and there's gonna be an immediate, like he said, people are gonna not.
Yeah.
I mean, just to notify Barry or somebody.
Yeah, for sure.
But let me know. I mean, I'll order them for next spring,
Okay.
and we can put them up. But I think everybody should be notified.
Agreed.
Okay.
With just a note, with a permanent no parking sign there, we have some more enforcement action. The ones that I have that I put up are just temporary no parking area signs. So there's not much we can really do about those ones. I mean, we could in a pinch, but with them constantly being knocked over and put back up and knocked over and back up, it's hard to enforce that.
Mhm.
If we had-
I would think that we would want permanent signs.
Right. If we had those up, then we could take some more further action with it, with putting actual warnings on cars, and then the word spreads, and then people eventually will start to stop parking there.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else for that? Oh, Mr. Smith is back.
Yes.
Okay. Moving on. Select board items, interviews for vacant selectman positions. Let's see if I can get through this. The position that's available is we will only replace the person until March, when the town election is done. Is that understood? So I think that we'll go alphabetically tonight. So Mr. Fitch, you're first on the docket. Are you there?
I am.
Okay. One, tell us a little bit about yourself. Did you just?
I live on North Ashland Road. I've been here for a while, bought this place in the late 80s. I'm currently semi-retired. I'm looking to be fully retired at the end of this season.
What do you think you could bring to the board?
I have some business experience. Was summer operations manager for a ski resort. I've done a lot of varied things through my working life. I think I can help out. I'm concerned with some of the things that I hear around town. I don't know that they're actually the truth, but I would like to be able to confirm what's happening, help if I can, and go from there.
Anything else before we
No.
start asking questions?
Shoot.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Fitch,
Fran's on mute.
Mr. Smith.
Fran was muted.
Oh, sorry. Could we have Mr. Letourneau speak first, and then, because some of the questions would apply to both of them. Some of my questions would apply to both of them.
If you wish to do that, Mr. Letourneau.
I am here. Can you hear me?
Ms. Newton would like to hear from you also.
Absolutely. I would expect that that would be the case.
Okay.
So
Apparently she has questions that will, that are the same for Mr. Fitch's will be for you.
okay. So
Let's
do
do
you want me to give my background now, or do you want me to hold and wait until Mr. Fitch?
Why don't you give us your backgrounds, refresh our memory?
I'd be happy to. So, purchased my property here in Ashland back in 1995, and been living here temporarily during the summers, during a period of time, because I had property further south than here. During which time that I was actively involved in the legislature, New Hampshire legislature. I served 6 terms in the House, 4 terms in the House, and 3 terms in the Senate, all in transportation, various other boards on the legislature, judiciary. I served on the Education Committee, the Election Committee, and various other boards. You have my resume. I had sent it in. My background was I had my own personal business that I ran for 40 years down in Derry, which was an electronics repair shop. I had a radio and television store, which is no longer active. Nobody buys televisions, radio television stores anymore. They buy them at Walmart.
Yep.
But anyways, I retired this year. I spent 9 years working for the Department of Safety after I left the legislature, and now I am fully retired, and thought that I would be able to help my community with some of my background and experience in government and that sort of thing. Hearing the presentation this evening from the DOT is something that I'm very familiar with. I've seen that on a number of occasions. In fact, I've even served as a commissioner on several projects like that. Currently, I am also on several boards still on several boards at the state level, which are, they're just kind of boards. I'm on the ballot law commission for one thing, and we only meet twice a year, which is required by the RSAs. But if there is a debate that comes up over some election activity, it has to go to the ballot law commission, that sort of thing. The other thing that I'm involved with is the Department of Transportation. I serve on the board that adjudicates the people that have damaged under their vehicles by driving over wet paint or hitting holes in the road or whatever the case may be, up to $1,000. Anything bigger than that, it goes to another board. So it's a smaller board, but it is an important board nevertheless. So that's my background. My hobbies are photography. I'm sure some of you folks have probably seen some of my work on Facebook. And that's about it. Fixing up my home and living here in Ashland and enjoying my life. So I don't have an agenda, by the way, so I'm here to try to help with whatever happens to come up.
Fran, you were first up.
Okay, I have a
Who are you
question.
going to direct your comments to first?
I want them, it doesn't matter who answers first, I want them both to answer the question, okay? What would you like to see the select board deal with going forward?
Well, there are several things that the select board is going to have to be dealing with, I'm sure, in the near future. I know that there's some situations with the old mill building downtown that has to be dealt with, and there's some issues with the water quality, and some other issues that may or may not come up in the next 5 or 10 years with the sewage disposal, plant downtown. So, yeah, those are the kind of things that are necessary and have to be dealt with in a timely manner.
Mr. Fitch?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest issues that we've got right now is going to be the lack of funding. I'm sure that our taxpayers have not stepped up to the plate as much as they normally do. This is tough times for everybody. I think we really need to, our biggest focus should be on cutting expenses, saving money, and that includes budgeting for next year.
Any thoughts as to where we might cut?
No, because I don't have privy to the information that you folks do. That's something that you've got to look at. I'm familiar with budgeting. I had to budget for 7 departments in my last job, and you've just got to look.
Well, I would agree with that. As my duties as a state representative, we had to do the budgets for the counties, and the county has the sheriff's department, the county attorney's office, the prison, all those things, and all the state representatives have to do the budgets for those things. So I'm pretty well aware of budgeting and looking for savings in that area. Obviously, as a conservative, I'm always looking for ways to save money.
No. Fran, anything else?
I have more questions if nobody else does. I was going to give
You
some.
can keep going.
Okay.
You have the floor.
Yeah. You heard the discussion tonight about the Scribner building. This is a problem that we need to face sooner rather than later. And, based on what you've heard, either from this meeting or around town, I'd like to get your thoughts on the Scribner building and its impact on the library and future operations and the town budget.
Who wants to go first?
Well,
Go ahead.
Start with you, Andy.
Okay. So I'm not real familiar with how the Scribner building came about. I know it was trusted. I know the town of Ashland owns it. I don't understand the financial, meaning Scribner Trust has money, but what do they use that for? So I'm kind of reluctant to say much about it. I do know that we have problems there. The oil tank, if the filler pipe is rotted or leaking, if they go to take that off and they twist that could just rupture the tank. I'd be kind of nervous about that. As for the budget, again, I'm on the outside looking in. You folks know the budget better than I do. It's something that I'm going to have to learn along the way.
So I will chime in on the Scribner building. It is managed by the trustees, and that's their duty, and they have to come forward to the select board with the proposals. Select board has to look at those things. I think on the oil tank discussion this evening, I have a lot of confidence in Greg Moore's ability to make a decision on what to do. I think he's very appropriately set up to do that sort of work, and he knows what to do, and I would not second guess his work ethic. So that's that. I agree with Alan that the money needs to be determined how much is there and what they can spend it on. It almost sounds to me from hearing the gentleman that spoke earlier from the trustees that the money was not managed properly in the past. and had caused some problems with the income, spending more than the income was coming in. So I think that the board may have, trustee board may be managing that better now. They're trying very hard not to overspend, but if a problem comes up, you have to deal with it. Fortunately, Greg stepped up to the plate and can save the library money, saved them with the lawn. It is a town building after all. So, and I agree that with a town building, and the town can step in there and do work legally. So, those are decisions that have to be made amongst a panel. And the panel is the select board.
One final question. As you're well aware, we are in the midst of a global pandemic. We here in New Hampshire have been spared a lot of the misery that unfortunately some of the other states have had to deal with. Nevertheless, we have had to take precautions like with the beach and with our Zoom meetings and so forth. How do you feel about masks, social distancing, especially when it comes to municipal buildings and municipal meetings?
Well, while the pandemic is still currently on, I think that, Ashland's been very, very fortunate. We don't seem to have any cases here. And I think it's probably because the people here are responsible. Like, we've learned a lot about our personal hygiene over the last 6 months. Washing hands, wearing masks in crowded areas. The pandemic seems to rest heavily in areas like nursing homes. I have a 95-year-old mother that I haven't been able to visit since March and reset because I want my mother to stay alive. They've done a good job down there at the nursing home. She's not a nursing home, she's an assisted living home, but she's 95 and she requires, extra assistance, we'll say, for normal activities. And she's using a walker, so she has to have people watching her when she's moving around so she doesn't fall. So you can't just go in there and spread the germs around. So yeah, we understand that there are things that have to be done. I think that as this pandemic flattens out, we should be able to get back to somewhat normal meetings, as long as we keep the distancing apart. I've been to 2 weddings now. They are social distance, and there doesn't seem to be a problem. Everybody wearing a mask, and nobody's sick, and everybody's doing the right thing, and it works out very well.
Mr. Fitch, you're up.
Yeah, since this pandemic has started, everybody's life has changed. People aren't doing things that they used to do. I know I'm not doing things I used to do. I wear a mask when I'm asked to. This is my first experience with Zoom. I'm kind of surprised that I was able to even get on it. So we have to maintain what we're doing. Ashland's been very fortunate. Plymouth hasn't been as fortunate. They've had a few more cases than we have. Plymouth has voted in a mask policy. I drove through Plymouth today, and none of the college kids have got them on. We just need to maintain what we're doing. It's too bad that the cities couldn't maintain what they're supposed to do, keep the social distancing.
Thank you both.
Anyone else?
Well, I appreciate the answers that you gave, and I mentioned it earlier in the meeting about Facebook. It's really paining me to see the residents in Ashland, the things they post on Facebook. on the Ashland page that is not factual, that is negative towards the town. And Mr. Letourneau, after just hearing what you said, I'm very perplexed by, I believe it was last week, that I'm not even sure what the thread was going on about. Just seemed to be somebody misconstrued what we were doing at a meeting, but you posted, we need to open up the meetings again. People need to be able to address those who represent them with their concerns. What are they afraid of?
No, I didn't say that. Did I say you're afraid of?
Here it is. I took it right
Okay.
off the page.
All right. Okay.
So I'm perplexed by that.
But I think we need to open the meetings up. It would be very good for the town people to be able to come and social distance, and we could certainly social distance and have a meeting. I mean, look, the chief is standing right next to Charlie. I mean, they're not sick, they're fine. They see each other every day. We need to be a little more open for our representation to the people. That's what I'm looking at.
Well, first of all, we do not have a meeting space that allows social distancing. We aren't fortunate like other towns that have large meeting spaces. Ours are very small. We have people who are on the board who has had a death in their family from COVID. We're all meeting here. I can see you. I can see everybody else that's participating. I can see my facial expressions. I don't see anybody else joining the meeting, and I wouldn't be amiss by saying normally, even when we did meet as a group, sitting at a table together, the lack of people joining our meetings was poor. Sadly, very poor, because I think they find it a lot easier to go on Facebook and post. So, said, I'm perplexed by, especially where you say, what are they afraid of? I don't know if Charlie's sick. I don't know if he is asymptomatic. I'm not a physician. I don't know that about the chief. I do know that one of my fellow board members has lost a family member, and I have to be cognizant of that. I have to be cognizant of other people on the board who have underlying health issues. I have to respect that. You don't know if I'm healthy or not. You don't know me. So,
Okay.
Right now we are Zooming because the governor has not lifted that executive order yet. And I find we do get our work done. I'm on the planning board. We get our work done. The Scribners are Zooming. The trustees of the trust fund is Zooming. The zoning board is Zooming. We're all Zooming, and we have somebody tonight who was first time Zooming. It works, and right now that's what we have to do.
Okay,
Well,
that's
a matter of
one statement to
opinion.
the question.
No, I just say that's a matter of opinion, and you know, it'd be a good thing to have the meetings open again, and that would be a discussion you could have. And I am sorry if somebody has had a death from COVID. That is a very horrible thing to have to go through, and my condolences to that person. I'm not sure who it is, but I'm certainly cognizant of the fact that people have had other things happen. Like I said, my mother's 95. I have not been able to get out and see her simply because they're in lockdown, you know. So it's, I understand people are going through a lot of changes in their lives with this COVID. But it is winding down, and hopefully it will wind down to a period where we can go back to somewhat normal conditions. I mean, people should be able to come to a meeting and address their concerns. And you know what? You wouldn't have it on Facebook if they could come to the meeting. That's one way to look at it.
Just as an FYI, nationwide, we have had 173,618 deaths.
Okay, and that has to do with this board. How?
Okay. Alan, do you want to ask any questions?
I have no questions for either. I know both these gentlemen pretty well. And I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay. I don't know either of the gentlemen well at all. I've heard what has been said by them. They both seem to be interested in this town. I feel that while I probably would not agree with either one of them when it comes to some of the issues that we have coming up, it sounds like, from what we've heard tonight, that either one could defend their opinion. I have no questions that haven't been answered, haven't been asked. As I said, I may not agree with a couple of the answers, but that's my issue. So if we are done with the interviews, I would ask that we are going to talk to ourselves about it independently. We're not going to have another meeting until, when's our next meeting? September 7th?
Oh, no, that's Labor Day.
Oh, we won't have a meeting until after.
September 8th, we usually
We'll have
do.
it on the 8th.
Okay.
That's voting day.
Voting day.
Oh, it is.
Oh, you're right.
Yes, I am.
It'll be the 14th.
It would be the 4th. So we're not going to be at least until the 14th where we will make a decision. Because I do think that this is important enough to take a little time to reflect on what they've said and not rush into it. I want to be fair to the people that have, I want to be fair. And I have to think about how people have answered things, what they've answered, and how they've answered. So this will be on the docket for our next meeting.
Okay.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, gentlemen. Yes. No.
Speaking of elections, can we talk about
Yes, Brad, please.
Yes. Okay.
What are we gonna do?
Let me just pull up some notes.
Will you pass those on to us, please, sir?
My notes?
No, if you read something from the town clerk.
Yes, since this happened just before the meeting.
Okay.
I got to it. I asked a few questions earlier today, and Patsy answered them. Nothing, her answer. I asked, how are we going to prepare the voters for any changes in procedures? You know, her answer was, nothing has substantially changed other than masks must be worn to enter the voting place. The school is closing the hall bathrooms. Voters will be given a pen to use and take with them. Voters will still be able to register to vote. Social distancing must be adhered to. Now, I asked whether our election officials have any guidelines that should be published on the website. And the response was, I'll send it to the webmaster. I asked about the health officer, what he had to say. And there's not much, according to our health officer, that is available for him to share with us.
That's me. So I reached out to Department of Health and Human Services to see if there's anything that might be different than, pretty standard protocol: wear a mask, wash your hands, don't touch your face, keep social distance, etc. They didn't really have much else. They actually referred me to NHMA's website, and there's nothing out there.
Okay. So my next question was, since the BOS has to be there all day, what accommodations are being made to keep us safe? The answer, gloves and masks are being supplied.
Well, there's other things in the office. There's barriers for people on the checklist. We got a bunch of stuff dropped off in the office.
Isn't Steve Heath his emergency management director? He's the one that's been kind of put in charge of the safety.
He has told me that they have ordered PPE for the election workers.
Yeah, there's that stuff here.
You're in the office right now.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yes.
Mr. Moore has been very helpful with that also.
Yeah, and Eli, by the way, I have talked to Tim about turning on the overhead fans at the gym.
Yep.
To help with airflow, and we're going to keep the doors wide open too, so nobody has to actually open the door.
Okay.
So just so you guys know, in
Yep.
addition, and then we're going to coordinate with Steve with sanitizing the gym afterwards.
Yep.
There's no bake sale, by the way, so everyone knows there's no bake sale.
No first baked goods. Yes, Fran.
Should we be encouraging people to vote by absentee ballot to reduce the numbers at the poll? I know that it's available.
It's available.
Yep. It's available. They actually changed the form that gives you the option for the absentee ballot.
And they can do that. There'll be a tent set up outside if they want to do that.
So how'd you find that out?
How did I find that out?
Yes.
I asked the question.
To who? Because I asked the question too, and all I received was, I needed to be there and to wear a mask. That was, and I said, are there any other protocols? And
I'm telling you what I got.
But that's what you need to share, because some of us don't have.
I'm trying to share.
All of this should be posted on the website. There should be clear guidelines posted on the website along
That's
with
what she's
options.
supposed to be. That's what she's supposed to be doing.
And Charlie, you have a sign. You want to show us the sign?
Well, I'm not done yet.
Oh,
God bless people sometimes. Since the governor has stated that masks be worn, how do we enforce masks being worn? There will be police presence. Voters who choose not to wear a mask will be able to secure a ballot by applying for an absentee. There will be a table under a tent outside the venue for this purpose. So I've answered your question. I've answered your question. And how many of you went to the post office and saw a flyer like this?
I don't go to the post office. My mail's delivered at home.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I got one in the mail.
I used to go to the
Okay.
post office
So
and
this
hope that I
is,
find something of interest posted there.
I got one in the mail.
Oh, maybe I had one sitting in my mailbox.
so this is what the Secretary of State has sent out about voting. How to return your ballot to the clerk, track your ballot, polling places will be open, election officials are trusted sources for accurate election. So Patsy and the town moderator and the polling people are the trusted sources.
Well, they're the overseers of the election.
Yep.
One other thing that Patsy also has this sign. I'll try to hold this up. That's from the state. She's got a couple of these in the office that they'll be hanging up. And like I said before, it's basic. Maintain 6 feet distance. Wear a mask or face covering. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. But this one's key. She showed me this earlier today. That use the provided writing surface mat. It's actually an envelope. So when people vote, they will vote on the mat. And it says here to protect yourself against potential contamination, place the provided mat on the writing surface in your voting booth or screen before you're marking your ballot. Okay, so those regular stalls won't just be voting on them, they actually provide a mat.
So there are rules and they will be posted.
Yep.
And it's nice to hear them.
Yep.
So Fran,
Yes.
we have never had the $1 million question answered. Do we all have to be there all at the same time? I still,
And for all day.
and all day. All I've got is, well, you can get a proxy. But that still doesn't answer the question. If we're there for a purpose, what's a proxy gonna do? And to be honest, I don't have anybody. Amanda is already working the polls. Walter's already a poll worker. I have very few people to ask.
I could ask Alan. I could ask Fran. I could ask Kathleen.
I have this will be my 5th time. Well, 3rd time as on the BOS, but I have volunteered before. It is an extremely long day, and I've told that to people. It's not exciting. It's a duty, and if all 4 of us do not have to be there all at the same time for the whole day, I believe in the past, didn't Fran? You probably remember. Didn't you do it in shifts at one point?
We used to do it in shifts. In fact, we used to assign them. But then we found out we were all supposed to be there. But I think of late, we have tried to at least ensure that we have a quorum at any one time because, we've taken breaks for lunch or dinner, whatever. But of course, with 4, it's kind of hard to have a quorum there because that means 3 of us have to, we should do the best we can. That's all. Usually somebody from the AG's office comes and kind of checks things out in the morning. And, so it'll behoove us to be able to say we've done the right job. So especially given the chaos of this election with COVID, et cetera. So
Charlie said, hang on.
Hang on. Okay.
No, I said, so I was the moderator for Ward 3 in Laconia, and the AG's office audits your poll.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You're doing what you're supposed to. I've never heard of anything that you're supposed to be there all day. With that being said, I do know selectmen should be there at the end to sign.
Because we do have to perform a statutory duty by signing
Right.
the boxes, once they're secured. You have to sign our name as they're being taped up.
Yeah.
And by the way, Eli, no padded chairs, I heard. They are not going to allow to have any padded chairs in the the gym. So we'll be sitting on just regular folding chairs.
Charlie,
We
I
need,
haven't heard that one either.
Charlie,
Chief Heath said that to me.
well, I do feel confident that the town is taking the best precautions possible. I'm very comforted by that because when I first thought about this, I kind of was having nightmares, but it sounds like they've thought it through, and I'm very grateful to our election officials. And
And I guess we'll just do what we've been doing for the last couple of years.
bring your knitting.
Now I'll cast on a new project just for that day.
Okay. Is there anything else?
I do have a question, if I may please ask it, since your next meeting isn't until September 14th.
Against my better judgment, Ms. Loud,
Oh, well, thank you. I do appreciate the fact that the meeting is open to the public. I asked for if we, at the trustees of the trust funds, could please have the legal response. We asked earlier if we could meet with the Board of Selectmen in a non-public session that was sent to legal, and my understanding is that we will be in a public. I'm requesting the Board of Selectmen please to release that judgment to the trustees of the trust fund, simply so that we come prepared to our meeting, which I see on my calendar as being September 21st, which is why I'm bringing this up now, since you're not meeting again until the 14th. I ask that judgment please be released to the trustees of the trust fund so that we can read that and be best prepared to discuss our concerns with management of gifts in a public session.
I have no issue with that.
Charlie,
As always, up to the Board of Selectmen before I could release any legal opinion.
anything that we should not release in that paperwork?
Mean anything to be redacted?
It was an email from Walter Mitchell.
Yes, it was an email from Walter Mitchell. Is there anything in there that we should redact?
I didn't see anything.
I didn't see anything either.
You got anything off the top of my head?
Hmm.
Okay,
I mean, it was about, I think it was mostly about advice on.
Yeah.
I'm not going
He
into.
reminded us about 91A and
Yeah.
how to proceed.
Yes, the advice was not to go into non-public.
No.
So board, what is your
Pleasure.
on this?
I'm okay with
I
releasing
have
it.
no problems. I think it should be released so they can use it to make an informed judgment.
Do you want to do a motion, or do you want to just do it by consensus?
Well, anyone object?
Yeah, that's
That's fine.
okay. So you have a consensus.
You have a
We have a
consensus.
consensus.
Okay.
Thank you very
We'll
much.
give you that information.
Thank you very much.
Now we're down to the very end. Mr. Smith, do you have any surprises for us?
No,
He's shaking his head no. He's gone nonverbal.
no.
In
I'll
that
make a
case,
motion to
ladies and
adjourn.
gentlemen, I will accept a motion.
Graham made a motion. I'll
Make
second
a
it.
motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.